Hello, it's Sunday and it's time for my mental health vlog, and I'm recording this really late. It's almost 10 o'clock because after dropping off my son today, my boyfriend and I went to go see the new Jordan Peele suspense movie called Nope. Interesting and good. Good to go check out. I actually have a lot to talk about this week, but I'll try and keep it, under 2 hours. And you'll hear munch just because my, Stella's eating. The first thing I'll talk about, because I mentioned it last week, was the big meeting that I had with the business this week. Put a lot of work into it. Really loved my idea. It was kind of bullet hole proof for addressing all the issues that the business wanted. And it was really disheartening because at the end of the meeting, they said, you put a lot of work into this. This is all really, really great, but we had a different vision in mind. So I'm still working on the project. I have to kind of now change direction to try and see if I can incorporate their vision, and then if not, we'll go with mine, or see how if I can kind of merge the two together. So the first thing that I did, because it was a late afternoon meeting on Monday. I thought it was Tuesday, it was Monday. And the meeting I'd done at 4, and after the meeting I was just really beaten down, really disheartened, really defeated. And I sent my boss a message. I'm like, I feel like shit after that meeting. I'm gonna call it a day. And I went across the hall to the bedroom, turned off the lights, and took a nap for like an hour. Actually, probably a little longer than an hour, just because that was the only way I could really process, or just it was how I wanted to feel the feelings at that time. Like, I need to mope. The next morning, my boss and I talked a little bit about it, and she was like, don't let the operations team get you down. You're doing an amazing job. You presented a solid plan. You presented amazing research, and there's no guarantee that what they want to do will work. And that's what we have to figure out. She's like, there's still a really good chance we're going to use your plan. That made me feel good. And I actually really needed to hear that, because I did. I felt very defeated. So for her to tell me, and of course, when I get defeated at work, what's the number one thing I think about? I'm not good at this job. I'm not qualified for this job. I don't know enough for this job. That same crap that happened when I first got hired, and that same crap that happened when I couldn't figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. So that self-doubt really came into play. So her telling me that was great. And then when I talked to my therapist about it this week, good therapy this week, when I talked to my therapist about it this week, she's like, don't you always say that you don't care what other people think? I said, yes, I'd love to feel that I've built myself into this person that I don't care what other people think about me. She's like, but yet when you got upset that they didn't like your idea at work, you didn't get the validation that you often seek, which was very heavy in your sex addiction. That's what I was addicted to, was the validation from people. And I paused for a minute, and I was like, damn it, she's right, and I hate that she's right. Because that's exactly what it was, is I find myself still seeking validation from others. Whether I'm seeking validation that they like what I've presented, or I'm seeking that validation and confirmation that I'm doing a good job. And I think to some extent, everyone seeks some level of validation somewhere. I just have to be cognizant and aware of it, because that is exactly one of the main things that fed my sex addiction, was that need for validation from others. So I still want to be that person that doesn't give a shit what people think about me. And I'd like to instill that in my son too. We went to this vlog is going to be a journey, so just follow along as best you can. We went to a dog show this weekend at NRG Stadium in Houston, the World Series of dog shows. I had no idea what to expect. There was something called Musical Freestyle Canine Dance. That's a thing. It's a thing. Anyway, my son, who has long hair, a very slender frame, whatever. And I bought him a top hat, because that's something random he asked for. It cost $13. And he wore it at drop off on Friday. And anytime he left the house this weekend, he wanted to wear it. So I'm like, I don't care. Wear your top hat. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. And we're at the dog show. And I look at him, and he's kind of looking down on the ground. I'm like, what's up, dude? And his eyes start to get a little red. I'm like, dude, what's up? I don't like it when people look at me weird. And I say, dude, it sucks when people look at you weird and you imagine all the things that they're thinking. I said, you don't know what they're thinking. You just imagine what they're thinking. I said, but I'm going to quote the great RuPaul to you, because he knows how much we love Drag Race. He grew up watching Drag Race. And I said, unless they're paying your bills, pay those bitches no mind. And he laughed because I don't usually cuss in front of him. That's not as true as I want it to be. I don't cuss a lot in front of him, but he smiled a little bit and he got it. And I said, so remember, Papa, Daddy, and other adults in your life pay your bills. So pay us mind, but don't pay anybody else any mind. So I think he got it. And I think he sees that I'm living a life where I'm not afraid to wear what I want to wear, style how I want to style, represent myself in the way I want to represent myself. So I hope he picks up on that, and I hope he finds confidence in that as we go into fucking middle school. Told you, it's a journey. So on drop-off on Friday, my ex and I are talking about my son's new school that he's starting in the fall. You know, he's going into 5th grade, which is still, in my mind, elementary school. Just keep in mind, my son has skipped a grade and is still in the talented gifting program and still getting A honor roll. I am terrified of what he's going to get away with when he's a teenager. Anyway, at drop-off on Friday, my ex tells me, yeah, and the new school he's going to, he's a middle schooler. I made a joke on Facebook about clutching the pearls. I literally did. I was not prepared for that little tidbit of information. And I am not sure I've processed that yet, because I am not ready for my little baby to be a middle schooler. And I know that it doesn't matter if I'm ready or not, but it does. So, not ready to have a middle schooler. Although, you know, he knows this. And later on that evening, when I was letting him know how much time he had left on electronics for the evening, he snapped back at me like a teenager with, yeah, and as you can imagine, I took away his toys like a toddler. So talk to me like a teenager, I'll treat you like a toddler. So he lost all electronics. We turned off all the Wi-Fi to all of his devices, because we can do that, because my boyfriend's really smart. So, yeah. And honestly, the next day was great, because I think he realized he was disrespectful. He had insulted me, and it's not common for me to be stern with him. Something I'm working on. I know I need to be more stern. I'll get there in a minute. I need to be more stern with him. And I think he realized that, okay, Papa means business. Papa's right. I went too far. Saturday was great. And then we had him Saturday night and took him home today. One of the things I talked about again in therapy was that constant nagging fear of my son ever feeling about me the way I feel about my father. And, you know, she has reminded me over and over, so many people have reminded me over and over and over. She's like, why do you keep hanging on to that? What are you so afraid of? You've done nothing to instill, you know, that fear into your son. And I said, that's not true. I said, the night that I hit my ex's boyfriend, I saw the look of terror on his face. And that was etched in my head. And to this day, I still fear him ever fearing me. So many people fear me because of my size, because of, you know, I'm not petite. I'm 6'6", and I look like, you know, a German soldier with purple and blue hair. And I have the sloping forehead, I have the jaw, and I look angry. I have resting bitch face, so it makes me look threatening. And I just want to make sure he never has the feelings and fears that I have, that I still have. And I've in therapy this week talked about trying to deal with the recently recovered, trauma from my abusive father, and how I instantly shut down as soon as I, had that realization, like I couldn't process it. And she said, it is impossible to process trauma while it is still going on. I said, yeah, but she's like, you've cut him out of your life. It's like, your mother is still there in the house. She's like, therefore, the trauma is still going on because in your mind, you're still worried about your mother. And that's true. And I won't talk too much about that. But I can't process that trauma just yet. I know it's there. I recognize it. I see it. But I guess I'm just not in a place where I can process it yet. Okay, this is the part of the vlog where if you don't like hearing or talking about my sex life, see you next week. Okay. Last weekend, my boyfriend and I were intimate, and we were, mutually pleasing each other. And I had an orgasm. Now, what's different about it is most of the orgasms that I've had in my life have been in my own hand. I've had to be in control of it. I had to control when it happened. It's very rare for me to allow someone else to help me orgasm. So it happened, and we were both very shocked by it. And I decided I wanted to talk to, my therapist about it. And she had some very interesting insight about it. She said, why do you feel that someone else can't help you orgasm? And I said, but that's not it. That's not the thought. She's like, okay, why do you feel like you have to do your own orgasm or create your own orgasm? And I had to think about it for a minute. I'm like, I guess, sex is fun and all, but I want to get to the end. I want to get to the prize in the Cracker Jack box faster. And she said, well, that's very, very interesting. And I'm like, well, what? She's like, do you feel when you were acting out in your sex addiction that you always wanted to get to the end faster because maybe you felt like that was part of the rush, the thrill, that concept of being caught, the fact that you have to hurry through so you won't get caught, and also just hurrying up to get it over with so you can get, them out of the house and clean up the evidence, or, be wherever you're supposed to be in a hurry. And I was like, that's actually incredibly accurate. And I said, so even when I masturbate, it doesn't take me that long. I don't think it takes most men that long when they're in control of their own orgasm. And when I'm with someone, if I'm receiving and I get to a point where I'm kind of done, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to come now. So boom, there you go. And she also said the ADHD comes into play a lot, but the connection between how I have acted sexually as a sex addict almost my entire life dictates how I pursue sex now as an adult, well, as a recovering adult. And that it's not that I don't want to enjoy the sex and the intimacy, I don't know how. And even thinking back with sex with my ex, who I loved very much, even though he doesn't always feel like I did. Even then, it was all about getting it started and getting it over. Like the beginning was exciting, the end was exciting. I could give a rip about the middle part, and it's always been like the farthest back I can think. It's always kind of been that way. And well, I've always been a sex addict, so it's interesting, but it's really hard to see that how screwed up I am and how it affects other people. I admit to being screwed up on a lot of levels. We all are. But it's really hard when your defects of character really impact others to the point where it's been suggested that the two of you may want to talk to a sex therapist. So, and it's like, that brings with it shame, which in an addict, being an addict, we're familiar with shame, and I don't want to feel shame, but it does. It brings a little bit of shame that my sexual behavior, my intrinsic sexual behavior, is still driven by the addict. And I really hate that. So I'm glad I've discovered it. I'm glad I looked into it. I'm glad I brought it up with my therapist. Here I was thinking I was doing really well in my sobriety, but my addict is still there. Traveling next week. Nope. Week after next. Yeah. So next week is a normal week at work. Lots going on. And then the week after, I will be going to Maine for work. So one of my upcoming vlogs will be coming from Maine. So that's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, it's been a very eye-opening week. It was a very, very therapeutic therapy session. So I'm very grateful for my therapist, and I'm very grateful that she helped me see and understand some of the things that I've been thinking about or feeling lately. So I'm a big proponent of therapy, and evidently sex therapy, because that's something I need to look at too. Anyway, that is a lot to throw at y'all in 17 minutes. So there you go. So real quick, check on your friends and make sure they're doing okay. Check in on your loved ones, make sure they know that you love them. And check on yourself, because you'd be amazed at what you can break down if you look at one of your behaviors and really try and figure out why you do what you do. And it helps to have a therapist walk you through that as well. So that's it, guys. I will see you next week.